Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married.
And we're back.
And we haven't done a podcast in almost exactly 1 year.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Don't say that. I hate when people say that.
It's been a few.
It's been a year.
It's been a year. I think our last podcast was in February of last year. So
yeah, it's 2022.
Right before I went to Iceland.
Yeah, so since in the last year, we've been to Iceland, we've been to England.
We've been to Florida.
We've been to Florida, but that's where some of my family lives, so that's no surprise. Yeah, so we took a year, not on purpose, but just needed to step away and do some other stuff. Like nothing interesting.
We weren't learning languages or anything like that. No. But yeah, I think one of the things we always said is that if we ever don't feel like podcasting, we don't.
Right.
Because we don't want to be like, hi everybody, it's John, I'm Scott. Anyway.
Right.
So, but we are happy to be back. Thank you to everyone who has been asking about us.
Oh yeah, that's very nice.
That's really nice. And I'm just happy to be back talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Speaking, broadcasting, podcasting.
Yes.
Hopefully people are still interested in watching us.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to ease back into this. Yeah. So we don't have a huge agenda of things.
Mm-hmm.
I had said we weren't going to talk about this, but I changed my mind. Part of our shtick was always knitting, followed by a movie review.
Mm-hmm.
That will be coming back as part,
we have some ideas from some ongoing ones.
Yeah.
We were doing rom-coms for a while, and that was fun, but it was fine.
Yeah. And poor Dame Angela Lansbury passed away. I don't remember if we had podcast.
I don't know if she had or not.
I don't remember exactly when she passed away, but and we had watched most of the movies that we were going to watch and that were easily accessible. So we'll be coming up with a different way to do that. Yeah. But those movie reviews for us were fun, at least, and we got some fun feedback from you guys. So
and also, we're not going to do a review of it, but in the new Knives Out movie, Glass Onion, there is a So Fast You Might Blink a cameo in it where she is on a Zoom call with the Daniel Craig character. It's kind of a puzzle solvers thing. It's like literally we watch it and we're like, oh my goodness, that's Angela Lansbury. And Stephen Sondheim is also on that Zoom call, who also passed this last year. So that was really nice. So yeah, it was just kind of cool to see.
That'd be kind of funny. I mean, that would assume that's her last movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like a Zoom cameo.
Mm-hmm. And
if you think about, sorry, this just struck me, but if you think about, her first movie was Gaslight from 1940,
I think.
Yeah. And then her last movie, she's on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think about that. So anyway.
There's a lot of technology between then and then.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yeah. So we're going to ease back into this. We're going to show you some stuff that we've done in the last year. I have not done that much knitting myself. That was part of the reason why we weren't podcasting. But in the last, I'd say 6 weeks or so, I've really kicked back into gear. And then, so we're just going to show stuff that we've knitted, finished. So show stuff that we are working on.
Mm-hmm. We have some acquisitions.
Yeah.
So
why don't you tell us about your sweater that you're wearing?
Yes. Okay, so this is my big project. I think I had just started this in February. I think I was like this far into one sleeve. This is the Ivalo sweater by Drops. And it is a yoked sweater with colorwork. The yarn is Big Twist Value yarn. This gray... oh my goodness. Come on. Oh god, it's a big tangled mess. And this sort of orangish color.
It's orange.
Orange, okay. And then this brown. So
I don't think they're real creative in their colors. So like this is soft gray, that's probably orange, that's probably brown. This is Big Twist is a Joanne Fabrics brand, and Joanne is a big box craft store in the United States.
Yeah, and so Scott helped me pick out the colors, and I really like how I like the gray a lot. I think it's a really good color for a sweater. And what I love, I was very hesitant to use. I liked the brown, whatever, but I was like, this orange felt very odd to me. But Scott was like, it'll work, and I love how it worked. So yeah, and it's my first yoked sweater. My first, I think, bottom-up sweater, too. Maybe not. And so what I learned that is, like, do your sleeves first. So I knit the sleeves first, and then...
Because I think the pattern actually says to do them last.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it matters, but I think you were wise to do the sleeves first.
Yeah. Because
then once you got to the point where you wanted to add them on, you didn't have to knit them then.
Right. And then
they were ready to go.
Because like basically you do the sleeves, which are, you know, a little bit of fun here, but then like lots of stockinette. And then the bottom, which is pretty long, you know, the fun part to me is the yoke. And I think it was really cool to be like, oh my gosh, all I have left is the fun part.
So let's I think we'll insert a video here of you standing and showing the sweater.
Sure.
So is there anything that you would do differently?
Not really. I think this is the first sweater I did. I've done like 3 or 4 sweaters where I'm really happy with the fit. It still needs to be, I think I steam blocked it, and I think I'll wet block it at some point too. The one thing I heard from y'all when I started this is that this yarn can pill pretty easily. So I'm trying to be very careful with it. I'm not going to, probably not wash it in the washer. I might, you know, wet wash it and then dry it. But it feels lovely, you know, and the one thing I didn't do is the pattern calls for, so the sleeves are pretty, the cuff on the sleeve is pretty long, as is the bottom ribbing. And so the actual pattern calls for a turtleneck. And once I got to the neck, I was like, I want it to be done. So
yeah, so I am knitting the same sweater. I think I've got maybe 3/4 of one sleeve done. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Same yarn, brand, and everything, but mine is white, and then the colors are navy blue and turquoise blue.
Yeah.
So what's orange on his sweater is turquoise blue on mine. So that is the kind of color that pops on mine.
Yeah.
I am going to do the turtlenecks because I love like a big cozy turtleneck sweater, especially like in with our winters here, and I could wear it outside and know that I'm going to be warm and everything if we go for a walk or if we go down to the lake, which is frozen over.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I'm definitely going to, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, I'm knitting that sweater, and I'll get back to it eventually.
And the pattern was really easy. I mean, I think someone had said, I think the drop stuff is, they're Norwegian maybe? I don't know. I don't think they're originally written in English. And someone had said like they can be a little tricky to follow sometimes. I found it pretty easy. It's a very basic pattern. Like it doesn't, you know, explain much. It says do this, do this, do this, do this. But I liked it, and I really, again, this is a very fun sweater to knit, and I am looking forward to knitting more yoke sweaters. Cool.
All right, well, I'll talk now about some socks that I finished. If you remember, if you're either somebody who has an amazingly good memory or you're somebody in the future who's watching our episodes back to back and there's a year skip, I had been working on some socks there was a fundraiser, and we had volunteered to knit socks for the highest bidder, and for some reason I just could not figure out how to get those socks done. I think the biggest thing was I had picked a pattern called the diabetic bed socks, which I think is an interesting pattern name, but it was a really interesting pattern in that there was like, was it called mock fisherman's rib or something, fisherman's rib, and then there was a different pattern on the bottom. There's a different pattern on the bottom, and then on the top, and then it was just a lot of different techniques in this one sock. And I ultimately want, I think the biggest problem was trying to do that, and I'll go ahead and show one. Trying to do that with black yarn was really, really, really a challenge. So I kept not being able to read my knitting and all of that. I had a light that I wore around my neck that I projected, and even with that, it was just really difficult to figure out what I was doing. So I ended up doing my basic sock pattern, which is the components come from the Rose City Rollers pattern, but I add a cuff to mine and do different toes and things like that. So ultimately, the request from the highest bidder on this one was that she get bed socks, so socks that you can wear to keep your feet warm at night here in Minnesota, and to use specific yarn.
Right.
So the specific yarn that she asked to use was yarn that she'd gotten in Bolivia. One of the guys it was a couple that it was her son and his boyfriend that she had asked the socks to be made for, because she got 2 pair. John finished his, and then I still had mine to do. But the yarn that, of course, the label part is ripped off. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The yarn was black baby alpaca, and it was Susara.
Yeah.
Was the brand, and so as you can imagine, baby alpaca is probably not the best yarn for socks, even if they're only going to be bed socks. And so what I did was I took a purple sock yarn and held it with the baby alpaca to give it some structure and give it some, give it some strength. And so they're still wet currently. I'm blocking them, and then John's going to give them to the recipient
this week sometime.
Yeah. So they turned out really cool, and they're going to be perfect for what they're intended for. But they're pretty late.
They're pretty late. I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah,
but they're friends, and they got 1 pair earlier. So I struggle with these two. So this is the prototype, or the first sock I made with the yarn, and again, it's a.
Were you following the diabetic?
No, I did. I found another pattern.
Oh, okay.
But I ended up abandoning it because it had this. I can't remember what the pattern was, but it had this little sort of ribbing, sort of cable
pattern,
detail.
Yeah.
And so I got to about this far, and I tried to put it on my feet.
Oh, that's right.
And with the fact, because alpaca just does not stretch.
There's no
it's
give,
really,
yeah.
And so I couldn't get it over my feet. So I actually started, ripped it out in anger, and then started a new pair of socks using basically the same pattern that you did.
Yeah.
So Did
you hold yours with sock yarn?
Yes.
Okay.
So I held it with this gray and a blue.
Yeah, that's right. Because the baby alpaca was basically cream.
Yes.
That's right.
So I couldn't find. I thought I'd taken a picture of them. There's a picture of them in progress, which I have, but I couldn't. I thought I'd taken a picture of them being done, but apparently I did not. So anyway, it was nice to have those over, and of course, look, it's a pair of cheaters.
Why did you?
Because I find that now when I open up all my yarn projects, it's now there's a pair
in your project bags.
In my private, there's now cheaters in all of them because apparently we're getting old and nearsighted, farsighted. So
yes. So So part of the during the duration or during the interim, we would normally never take 2 years to knit something for someone who bid on it and all of that, but pandemic happened in there, and then also
they're good.
I started a new job at work, and that kind of really stressed me out, and I had no extra time. Blah blah blah. So
they're good. They're friends of ours,
friends, yeah.
And so they've been very understanding, and they'll be excited to get the second pair.
Yeah. Well, actually, they didn't know they were getting a second pair.
I know, but yeah.
Yeah. So. All right, so that was the purple that I used in these was from Trilogy Yarns. It was, I don't know if she has it anymore, but there was a Crayola series that she did, and it was the purple from that Crayola series. So it turned out really good. So, do you want to talk about? Do you have any other finished objects you want to talk about? Okay.
So this is a finished object that we no longer have. I think I just started it before I went to Iceland again. A couple of months ago, Trilogy Yarns, our friend Nancy, she had a trunk show at our local yarn shop, Harriet and Alice, and I picked up these 2 skeins of yarn from her. This one...
She wasn't there, which
made us
super sad.
But that's okay. Her yarn was there, and it's just as lovely. So this is called Lincoln Park. It's a Surrey. No, this is Lincoln Park. This is no. This is Lincoln Park. Liz. It's 75% baby Surrey alpaca and silk. It's lace weight single ply.
That would be this.
This is Lincoln Park. And then I held it with this yarn, which is, this is the Sexy Cowboy. And this is 80% merino and 20% nylon. So I made a simple sockhead hat for my sister, and picked out these 2 skeins together, and this just knit up beautifully together. I'd never done the whatever this is, the fuzzy stuff.
I don't think it's... I mean, normally I would say that was... Well, that took us 20 minutes. I would normally say that was mohair,
but it's not.
It's Surrey, baby Surrey alpaca.
Yeah, spun with nylon.
Is mohair a generic term in anything that's fuzzy and lace weight, or is it specific?
I thought mohair's a kind of goat, isn't it?
I don't know. Anyway.
So it turned out really beautiful. It had this great halo. I don't know if you can really tell, but the sort of different colors on this yarn and it just married really well together.
Yeah. Nice
and fuzzy. I've got some pictures of it, which maybe you're looking at right now. So yeah, that was a really fun one to do because it's a sockhead hat and you're just sitting and knitting.
And you gave her that for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that was fun. So I was going to make her a different hat. I was going to make her something for Christmas.
I think you were going to make her a shawl.
No, I was going to make... We got... we can talk about it later. We got... I bought a cowl pattern and a kit from 3 Kittens Fiber Arts. 3 Kittens?
The store?
Mm-hmm.
3 Kittens Needle Arts.
3 Kittens Needle Arts, which is in right near us.
It's in
Egan.
No.
Mendota Heights.
Mendota Heights.
And so I bought this really great cowl pattern, this color work, and I was going to make it for either my mom or Jennifer, my sister. And it was like a week before Christmas, and I had not even come close to starting it. I'm like, wait, I'm working on this hat. I'll just finish the hat. And it worked out really, really well. So, very exciting. I'd never held mohair-esque yarn with a regular yarn together, and it was really great, and I really liked the effect. So
I have finished objects. One is a hat, and one is where I held it with mohair. So it's like I could go in either direction. Which one do you think I should do?
What?
You just did a project that was a hat where you held the yarn with mohair.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 projects. One's a hat that I didn't hold with mohair. The other is socks that I held with mohair.
I thought you were saying you had a hat that you
held with... I could transition into either.
Why don't we do the mohair?
Okay. So this one is a pair of socks that I knit for my aunt and promptly realized that she has much larger feet than I thought she did. And I'm going to blame that on Betty Ann, because Betty Ann's like, oh, she has feet that are my size. And then we get there to visit in a few weeks ago, and no.
Yeah.
That's not so I'm going to blame Betty Ann for that. Betty Ann is my poor suffering mother, which longtime viewers will remember.
Does she suffer or do we suffer?
inflicting suffering on others.
Okay, just making
That's
sure.
what I meant.
Okay.
So these socks, the other one is in here, and I've got to Kitchener stitch the toe. But I'm going to end up giving these to somebody else. Don't know who yet. Probably a friend of mine, a friend of ours that lives in the neighborhood, whoever can wear this size foot, or this size, you know what I mean. Whoever these fit. So my mom and my aunt, sisters, growing up, my mom had and still to this day, they'll buy stuff that's the same. My mom buys it in blue and my aunt buys it in pink. Mm-hmm. So, or it's, yeah. So that's their color. So I had made this same exact pair of socks for my mom in blue. So it's a solid blue yarn held with blue mohair, and then the heels and toes are white yarn held with the mohair of that color. So obviously this is pink. And I don't believe my New Year's resolution is to do better about having the yarn label and keeping them and all of that, because I don't think they're in here. But so I don't remember what the yarn label is or who the dyer is or anything. But it's was it the needles at the Ready guys who said that I was going to cause Betty Ann to go ass over tea kettle?
No, that was Caleb. It was Justin.
Oh, it was Justin from
Bearded Purl.
Bearded Purl. And what was their podcast called? Bearded Purl? Oh my God, they're going to beat us up.
I don't remember.
Anyway, they haven't done it in a while, and now they live in another country. But so, anyways, Justin said that Betty Ann was going to go ass over tea kettle because they are very slippery. But anyway, this is going to go to some nice person in my neighborhood
with the right size feet.
So, but I'm going to go on to my next one.
Okay.
So, I don't know if any of you have heard of. Okay, so.
Do you want to take the computer now?
No, because I need to read. I need it to read.
Okay.
I don't think it's blocking anything.
Okay.
So, the designer's name is Kevin Haggerty, but on Instagram he goes by Purljam, Purljam. He had posted on Instagram. He's a really fun Instagram, and on his Instagram he had posted a new hat pattern that he put together called the Top Down 2x2 hat. It's a very easy pattern to follow. I found, and this is not his pattern, this is me as a knitter, I have found the beginning challenging because it starts with a pinhole cast on or whatever that's called. So it's a top-down hat, which I've always done bottom-up hats. I've never done a top-down hat. But the thing about the hat that I love so much, and mine, I didn't block it, and I don't know if it's what am I trying to say? I don't know if it's my gauge that caused this, but as you can see, it's kind of looks kind of skinny, and it could be because I haven't blocked it. But I don't know if you can really see this, and of course there's a hole. But it creates a really cool. What he's done is let me see here. He's taken the way he's laid out the pattern is it's like the different 2x2 ribs are coming out from these four major ones that start at the top and go all the way to the bottom. I just love the hat, and I don't know how it is that different hats look different on your head, just based on the construction, because you would think you slip it on your head and they'd all look the same, but there's something about the way this hat looks. Somebody said I looked like a hippie. It wasn't that said I looked like a hippie.
I don't remember.
It's probably Betty Ann. I think it was Betty Ann. No. Was it Shannon? I think it was Shannon.
Yeah.
That's my dad's wife. Anyway, I loved knitting it. It was very easy because it's basically 2x2 rib all around, except for the fancy increases from the pinhole cast on. But yeah, so he's Kevin Haggerty, top down 2x2 hat, and I just absolutely love this hat. The yarn, of course.
It's blue yarn.
It's blue yarn. Oh, it's apple.
Oh, Apple Valley.
No.
Green Apple?
Hand me the computer.
Yeah. Apple Fiber Studios.
It's Apple Fiber Studios yarn. I don't remember the colorway. If I can find it in the... if I can find it, I'll post it at the bottom of the screen. But, yeah.
And I've knit some other stuff with their stuff. I really like their...
Oh, their yarn is... I love their yarn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he like I said, his Instagram is really fun. I'm excited to look at some of his other patterns he's got. Can you hand me that again? He's got some... now, I don't... First of all, I'm not the right age, and I don't have the body to knit some of the stuff that he designs. He has this, like, T-shirt that he designed that is so freaking cool. And if I was 20 years old, I would... there's a tank that he designed called the Summer Friday tank. And then there's this is the... it's actually a polo, and it's called the Hot Mesh Polo.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really cool. But again, if I were about 50 pounds... No, that's not... I'm being dramatic. But if I was a little thinner, I would probably...
a little thinner and a little twinkier.
A little twinkier, yeah. It would be fun to wear, like, if you're going to Miami or something.
Right.
But he... yeah. So... and he's in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, anyway, love this hat. I will knit it again. I think this is a hat that would be a good gift knit because I think I like the design and it's not too difficult.
Yeah.
And it knits up pretty fast.
It looks really, and it's very unique and cool.
Yeah. All right. Now my head's itchy because I just shaved my head.
Oh no.
All right. I have 2 works in progress.
I have 1 work in progress.
Okay.
So why don't you do one and I'll do one.
All right. So this is a pattern that I've been knitting on for probably 2 years.
Yep.
And that's okay. I don't care that I've been knitting on it for 2 years. This is a hat. It's the Sockhead hat pattern. And so I'm doing a very long rib, 2x2 rib, so that it can be folded up like this hat. And then eventually, did I say Sockhead? That's what I meant to say.
Yep.
And then eventually I'll just switch to straight knitting, but it's slub yarn, which I used to call skanky yarn. I couldn't ever remember
Skank yarn.
Yeah, skank yarn. It's slub yarn, and okay, why is it that I literally lose the ball band for everything? But it's I don't even know who the dyer is.
Yeah.
Maybe I can find it somewhere, but it's the reason that it's taking me so long to knit is because I only knit on it when we are playing Pathfinder. We play Pathfinder weekly with a group of friends. For those of you that don't know what Pathfinder is, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. So it's basically what they call a tabletop role-playing game where you get together. There's one person who's kind of their game master or dungeon master, depending on which game you're playing, and it's like you kind of make up a story together, and it's hard to explain those games if you haven't played them before. But sometimes there will be things where I'm not actively doing something, or even if I am actively doing something, but I can just be sitting there, and so I'll pull this out and start knitting on it. So it's like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there over the last 10 years, and that's totally okay.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a Sockhead hat, and I'll get it done eventually. I'm going to knit this for me, because...
Yeah, you can never have too many hats.
Right, exactly. And this is the kind of hat that you can wear in a lot more seasons than just winter, because it's really light, so fall and spring for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So my work in progress, just started these. So what I'm knitting is, a couple of years ago, I went to a Brooklyn Tweed event in the Twin Cities, and they had kits for their Hazel Fern, which is a sock of theirs. And so it was the pattern plus, and with 2 skeins of their Peri yarn. Peri yarn. The color is Cortado, and it is 100% American Merino wool. So I just started these socks basically when we went to Florida,
Like 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. And they are, I'm about almost maybe this much further until the, start doing the getting ready for the heel part. And this is a great pattern. It's not, as you can see, it's very cable, lots of pattern stuff in it. There's some cables. There's some increases and decreases that make this kind of like fun pattern. There's a stitch called the whale stitch, W-A-L-E stitch, which kind of creates this, it looks like a whale tail almost, which is why I think it's called that.
Like when a girl wears a thong and pulls her thong up above her jeans. Is that what you mean?
Probably not.
Oh.
But it's a really fun knit, and I am very much enjoying it. And yeah, and this yarn is, I like this color a lot. This yarn, it
looks like it's awesome for stitch definition, which is important for that kind of pattern. Yes,
exactly. So like you have,
it's almost like they planned it that way.
I know, they're so clever. And this yarn is beautiful. I'm making this pair for Shannon, who's your dad's wife. And yeah, I'm really, like, basically once I'll sit down and do a couple of rows, and it goes by quickly, and it's a very rewarding pattern because it just looks really great. The first couple of rounds, once I started the pattern, were a little tough because you couldn't tell what you were doing, and I was learning to do the whale stitch, but I think I figured it out.
So why don't you tell us what it's like when you get frustrated when you're knitting something? Why don't you walk us through that process? Because you deal with that in a very healthy way.
So I believe in universal peace. I'm very at zen with life in the universe. So when it's difficult, I take a deep breath.
Okay.
And I think about the goodness of the universe and my place in it. And I'm like, this too shall pass. I will learn eventually. This challenge is really just a step to greater enlightenment.
How do you feel about the fact that you're lying in front of your child? Your little baby child.
Junior knows. No, actually, I do get frustrated when I am doing something new knitting and it's not immediately picking it up on. But, you know, I figured it out. So it's all good. These challenges make us stronger. So
Junior might be blocking the lens. I'm not sure.
No, I'll hold it like this. It's fine. So yeah, we can insert a picture over the stuff.
What time is it?
It is 2:31.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
So yeah, just started, and it is a very fun knit. The pattern is great. The yarn is great.
Cool.
And I'm not much of a sock knitter, so this is kind of a fun departure.
Yeah. So my last work in progress that I'm going to talk about right now is, you know, I over the last year I did not knit much, which is what I talked about earlier, and now I'm back into it full bore. So
what?
Bore.
Full bore.
Full bore. That is an idiom, I promise. We'll look it up later.
B-O-A-R-B-O-R-E.
I think it's full bore as in
like
the bore inside of a tube or inside of a gun barrel, like it's bored through, and it's like you fill it up. It's full bore.
Huh. It's an awfully violent metaphor.
Okay, hang on.
Full bore.
Full bore at full speed or maximum capacity.
Interesting.
Where does full bore come from? Full bore is the widest capacity of a cylinder. Some lexicographers think the bore first measured an engine cylinder, while others think that the origin is from the measurement of the inside of a barrel of a gun.
Huh.
I'm smarter than you are. Okay, so anyway, I'm full bore, and so I'm doing this full bore. This is a Zalber ball. I know it's a Zalber ball. And I know that the brand with that is like Chicken Paul or something. I forget what it is. It's like
charcuterie.
Yeah, it's charcuterie. No, it's super cool. This the way it's knitting up. It's not a. Oh wait, is this a Zalber ball or is this a?
This is Zalber ball.
Well, because there's some where the colors are like all over the place.
Yeah, they have Zauber balls, and some of them are nuts.
Is one of them called like Zauber Ball Crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway.
This is Zauber Ball
a plain
insane.
Zauber Ball. Yes. But I just love, first of all, this magenta-y maroon color is like one of my favorite colors in the world. And, yeah, so it's knitting up beautifully. I've actually, one of the things that I used to do when I was knitting socks is I would knit a really long leg, thinking that it would look better or I was a better person for knitting a long leg.
For sure.
And then I discovered, oh wait, I have calves, and they're super, super developed and massive.
And that's your cross.
That's my superpower. And so I can't. When I did that, I couldn't get my socks up over my calves. So I have decided that I'm going to try this length, which is, I don't know how many inches that is.
If only we had a tape measure.
I don't know. Well, I will tell you that it's a perfectly acceptable length.
Yes.
But anyway, you've got a tape measure in one of your bags.
I have probably.
Anyway, I don't know how many.
Never when I
that
need
is.
one. But
or centimeters for that matter. But I've started on the heel flap, and what was my point? I don't remember. But I always use 9-inch circulars, 2.5 millimeters, and then I switch to DPNs for the heel flap, and then picking up the stitches to do the gusset, and the gusset decreases, and then I put it back. Actually, once I pick up all the stitches on the sides of the heel flap to create the gusset, I immediately then switch back to the 9-inch circular and do my gusset decreases on the 9-inch circular, and then I knit down to the toe. So, and I wear size US 9.5 shoes, so which ends up being about, I think, I always forget, is it like 8.5 inches before you get to the toe?
Sure,
something like that. So, yeah. So I'm, of course, the other thing that. This is the perfect TV knitting because I've gotten to a point in my life, and I've talked about this a million times. It's funny how we haven't done this in forever, but I'm starting to remember like the stories that I've told 1,000 times. There's a couple knitters, and I forget.
Oh my god, no one can see what you're doing.
Oh, sorry. I forget what her name is, and I forget what the podcast is. But anyway, there was a woman who really impressed me because she just never looked at her knitting.
Oh, she's
when she was knitting.
Took stuff to the movies and stuff like that.
No, there was that woman, but there was another woman who I actually heard about that from the first time. So I was like, I forced myself. So the only time I can ever not look at my knitting is knitting socks. And when it's just stockinette. Right. So yeah, so this is perfect for that, and I can just whip out a pair of socks really quickly. So I think what I'm going to do is knit this pair for myself, and then I'm going to start knitting socks for friends and stuff, because that was something that always brought me a lot of joy with the knitting. Although I was thinking, I want to knit stuff for my nephew, our nephew, Santiago, who's 2.5, but he's in Florida.
Socks are good. Baby socks. I've always seen baby socks.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too, because I'm like, knit him an Icelandic baby sweater. I'm like, no, I won't. But we have some other friends who are just about to have a baby, and they live in Minnesota, so baby's going to get the baby Icelandic sweaters.
Yes. So the other thing is too that I love wearing ankle socks in the summer. Knitted ankle socks. I think people get this idea that it's wool and it's going to be super hot on your feet. I don't find that at all, and I find and supposedly wool is wicking and all that stuff. So I kind of think I'm going to knit like a pair of ankle socks for my dad, or because I try to knit things for Betty Ann, and she
loses them,
puts them in the garbage disposal. Burns them with a satanic sacrifice, whatever.
Yeah, as one does.
I've given up knitting things for her. So, so I'm wondering, I think my dad might, I'm just curious to see what he thinks.
Yeah.
If he would like. I'm trying to find people to knit for that aren't mean and live in tropical climates. But anyway.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's all of our knitting, right?
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, you've got some acquisition stuff.
we got some acquisition stuff. A couple of things, and this will go through this pretty quickly. So, this is a book I bought. It's called Knitting the National Parks. It's by Nancy Bates. I don't know where I saw this.
I feel like it was on Instagram or something.
I think it was on Instagram, and so basically what she's done is she has designed hats, and I love knitting hats, that kind of are based on all of the national parks. So, trying to...
And I saw this, and it's like, I want to take a page out of...
Julia and Julia.
No. Well, yes, actually, Julia and Julia, but... So I want to take a page from Dan, where he's taken things before in kind of like books. I think he did, I forget what, he did a sock book. I forget which one it was, and he knitted like all the way through that book.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to knit through that entire... I mean, it's 63 hats.
But like hats are fast, and like I'll just give an example. Like this is like the Theodore Roosevelt Park hat, and so it's got buffalo color work and stuff like that.
Now, is it color work or is it intarsia?
It's some of it's color work, some of it is like cables. I mean, it's just some of it is it's a lot of color work because it's trying to sort of capture. But this is like, so this one's Carlsbad Caverns, and it's all sort of cables and stuff like that. So it's just stalactites and stuff like that, and especially for the ones we've been to, it's really cool. So I would like to start. That's my next hat is probably gonna be from this book.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do Mammoth Cave because that's where the national park I went to growing up. So
really, is Mammoth Cave a national park? Oh, I didn't know like it would be a national park.
It's the biggest cave in the world.
I know it's the biggest cave in the world. I just didn't realize it was a park, considered a park. But yeah, I want to go. Well, I'll probably never go back there. But
no, we're going for my 10-year college reunion.
Oh,
no, not 10. 30-year college reunion. A little different.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know.
Yes.
No, high school reunion. Sorry, my 30-year high school reunion is coming up this fall.
So, there's also a lot of caves. Okay, we're digressing, but there's a lot of caves in South Dakota, and we've never been to those. So we're gonna go there. We'll go this spring to the ones in South Dakota.
The other one I got, and got this in Iceland. It is the Lopi Sweater Knitting Book. So we went to a couple of yarn shops in Iceland. We didn't buy any yarn in Iceland, which I think is a little sacrilegious, but
there was lots of it. It was just, we didn't spend a lot of time looking for it, but a lot of it was Lopi. Right. And that Lopi's great, but like I can buy Lopi here. Yeah. So I think we were kind of looking for local, and I don't know if like there are a lot of independent. I mean, there are.
What I saw. So part of it was we were there in like early May, and so like the textile center wasn't open yet.
Oh, that's right.
And then we were just very, and we were seeing water.
We were trying to fit a lot in.
So the yarn sort of went by the wayside, but we want to go back so next time. But so we bought this.
We are going back, by the way.
Yeah, it's called the Lopi Knitting Sweater Book. The Lopi Sweater Knitting Book. It's by Greta Sorensen, and it has a whole bunch of they like children's sweaters. I mean, just it's all gorgeous, and I really want to knit something out of it. So now that I've done this yoked sweater, I feel that
you're an expert on yoked sweaters.
I would feel better about.
That's typically how you approach things. Is you do it once and then you're an expert.
Well, I do it once with yarn that is a little less expensive.
No, you do anything once and then you're an expert. I don't know if you know this about yourself.
No one likes you. Anyway, so I'm going to probably knit something out of this. There's some really great patterns. I don't want to show the stuff, but this is fun.
You did in the other book.
Not the pattern.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Just kidding.
You didn't even see. God.
Nobody likes you.
Don't. And then I just want to show, while we were in Iceland, we went to a hand knit shop in Húsavík.
Húsavík.
And I got these mittens for me. which are lovely.
And there were some nice women sitting there knitting in the shop. They and some other women around, I think in the Husavik area, did all the knitting of everything.
Yeah, so we got these mittens. Scott got these mittens. Very cute.
I wear all the time, and it's amazing how, like, I will go outside and I will shovel snow. My hands never get cold. The mittens get completely covered in snow, and they're dry in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. And then you got this hat.
So here's the deal, honey. I think I'm going to gift that hat to you.
Why?
That hat on a bald head. I love the hat, but...
Is it too itchy?
Yeah, I mean, it's... Having a bald head, it's like... And
you know, you got massive calves, so it's okay.
I do have massive calves,
The Lord giveth and he taketh away.
Yes.
So I got that. And
massive calves and massive other things.
And it's a family show. And then I got this sweater.
God, that's beautiful.
So I'm not sure which is the front, which is the back, but again, I just love the color. And
so, how do you think? Is that? Oh, you know what? This. You know what? Okay, sorry. This collar is like the double-brimmed hats.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, with all the thousands of sweaters I've knit, really I've only knit one. But I think I like the look. I mean, I really like that, but I think if it were a double, I think that adds a little something to it when it's a double thickness
I feel
collar.
like if I had... I almost did that for this one, right? I thought about doing that, but I was like, I just wanted to be so done.
How do you...
So what you do is you...
Oh, then they sewed it down.
You sew it down,
okay. Because with the hat, you start with the brim.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would just sew it down on the inside.
Yeah. For the baby sweaters I made, that's how they did the collar on those.
Oh, it was a double... Oh, okay.
And it's super cute.
That was the flea...
Sure.
Flea...
Okay.
You're talking about the ones for the twins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fleece sweaters.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is great. I've worn it. It's really warm. I wore it all around Iceland, which is really lovely too. So those are our acquisitions.
Awesome.
So, it's super fun.
All right, well,
I think before we stop, and I know you don't want to.
No, please.
We need to talk about what happened at Universal Studios.
Okay.
So,
No.
Okay, we'll just do it quickly.
Okay.
It's like ripping off the Band-Aid.
We do need to let our spy network.
They need to reactivate. So, Betty Ann is Scott's mother. We've talked to her before. We love her very much. But she can be a handful. So, as we mentioned, we went to Florida, to Tampa.
My dad and his wife, my brother and his wife, and their little boy Santiago all live there. My mom, Betty Ann, and her sister Helen, who's my aunt, they live 6 hours north in South Georgia, and so they happened to be there at the same time. So everybody was there.
So we're all there. It was really great. And one of the things we wanted to do while we were up there was go to Universal Studios. We've been to all the Disney...
It's a theme park,
yeah.
For those of you that don't know.
So we went there, I think, last Friday. Or I can't remember. 2 weeks ago, Friday, or a week ago Friday. I can't remember. And so we got down there, and we told Betty Ann we were going to Universal Studios, and she got very excited. In hindsight, I would say suspiciously so. But at the time, we were just like, oh, that's great. She's excited for us. She's not a big roller coaster person, surprisingly enough. She seeks her thrills elsewhere. But she was very excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Just tell me all about it. So we get there, and to kind of understand what's happening here, we want to really talk about kind of what the rides are like at Universal. So Universal, their rides are very kind of based around media properties, and they really do, like, their stuff is less roller coasters and more virtual reality. So you'll be in a car, for lack of a better word, and the car is moving, but it's not moving on a track. It's sort of going up and down, back and forth, and what's moving all around you are these big screens. So you get this like feeling of movement, but what's actually going on is the car or whatever you're in is kind of moving in tandem with the way the screen is moving, so it feels like you're moving. It's very immersive and very, very fun.
It's kind of like if you've ever done that thing where you sit in front of a computer screen or a TV screen that's playing the video of a roller coaster from your perspective.
Yeah.
And it's like you feel it, even though it's just a video. But then imagine being surrounded by the visual, and the car is slightly moving as well, and sometimes more than slightly moving, and so it's very effective.
So that's kind of the way the rides are set up. And so Betty Ann was like, "You've got to ride the Fast and the Furious ride," because she loves Fast and the Furious. Those are her
favorite. Well, second only to
Star Wars.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Or Star Trek. Star Wars.
So she loves those movies. She's actually not allowed to watch them anymore because she tends to...
She talks like Yoda for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes after watching them.
The Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Star Wars. She's not allowed to watch Star Wars.
No, there's a new Fast and the Furious movie coming out, and she's not allowed to watch it because what she does...
There is no try. There is only do or do not. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Go ahead.
So anyway, because she watches the movies and she goes full... I've seen like a couple of them, and she starts being like, well, I could do that. Well, I could do that. And so after a couple of the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
That was the second movie.
Was it?
Or third.
I don't know. I've seen only a couple of them. But anyway, she just starts driving all kinds of crazy. But she was like, you've got to go on the Fast and the Furious ride. So the Fast and the Furious ride is like basically you're on a party bus, and that's kind of the car you're in, and you have to escape these bad guys, and you're driving through the streets of San Francisco. It's a pretty good ride. And so we do it, we get to the very end. At the very end, you're at this party scene, right? And you're driving through this party scene in the party bus. And sort of, we're driving through it. The screen's moving more. And through the corner of my eyes is like red flash. Red sparkly flash. And I hear the phrase, "It's time for some spicy fajitas," which you know is one of Betty Ann's catchphrase.
Yeah.
So
I remember. I had blocked this out.
Whip my head back, and what do you know? Somehow Betty Ann has inserted herself into the virtual reality of the ride.
It's time for some spicy fajitas.
Time for some spicy fajitas, and there's this like sparkly person in go-go boots dancing, and to an untrained eye you wouldn't notice it, but it's totally Betty Ann.
She was doing the pony.
Whatever. Time for some spicy fajitas. So I'm like, okay, and the ride goes pretty quickly, and I'm like, well, surely I just imagined that, right? Maybe it's just a coincidence. You know, that seems like a pretty common phrase. So we get on the Minions ride, and I look, and there's a Minion in a tube top with a skateboard and a scratched up hand. I'm like, oh no. And you know how like that phrase is like, you know, look for the white cars.
Yeah. Once you see white cars,
you start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
So we're doing all the rides in Universal, and like Betty Ann is everywhere. Her little avatar. She's in Escape from Gringotts.
She was one of the goblins.
She was the goblins.
Goblin in a tube top.
Goblin. It was embarrassing. She was in the Transformers ride. Running around.
Betty Ann Prime.
She was a little electric scooter that transformed into Betty Ann.
It was a hover round.
Oh, that's right. It was a hover round.
Yeah. That transformed into Betty Ann.
It's a sparkly hover round. And of course, like, time for some spicy fajitas, like, shows up everywhere. It got so bad, actually, by like at the end of the day, you were at the Simpsons ride, and you just put your head down.
I wondered why...
You just couldn't deal anymore.
No, I wondered why they were selling fajitas in Harry Potter land.
Yeah, no.
It didn't make any sense.
Right.
Betty Ann.
So apparently what happened was Betty Ann had hacked into the Universal Studios
mainframe,
and had digitally inserted herself into all the rides. She was even the E.T. ride somehow. There was, you know, the E.T. Home Planet, and there's a little E.T. person with a tube top and a skateboard. So, I mean...
So the point of telling the story and humiliating me is what?
So here's the deal. We called Universal Studios, and we're like, you have a problem. And so they've scrubbed their servers. So Universal Studios is, I think, clear, right? They gave us a gift card for our trouble and our trauma. But I just realized there's a virtual reality out there everywhere. And Lord knows what she's put herself into. I'm actually afraid to pick up our Oculus Rift at this point. So...
yeah, don't even get me started on the Jason Bourne stunt show.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
We were, for legal reasons, we can't get into that. So anyway, you know, we've been not, you know, podcasting for a year, and our network of Betty Ann spies has kind of, I think they thought because we weren't podcasting that, like, she was reformed.
Right.
And so there's a warning that she is still out there. She is very dangerous. And she's up to no good. And she's got new skills. She's got new skills. Like, we knew that she always was kind of a hacker, but like this whole like motion sensor capture stuff and making yourself do a minion digitally.
Yeah. She wears that full green bodysuit and she glues the ping pong balls to herself, and then she videotapes herself. It's
nuts.
Fascinating.
So, I mean, I'm afraid to go see. Any movie with CGI in it is in danger.
Yeah.
I don't think she was an avatar, but like I wasn't looking. I have been lulled into a false sense of security.
It's true.
So if anyone sees Avatar 2: The Way of Water, just let us know.
Yeah.
Just let us know. We're very concerned.
Yeah.
We may have to take away her computer privileges.
Yes.
But it's probably too late.
Well, I think I've relived enough of that trauma. So yeah. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah.
And we will be back soon.
We'll be back.
So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.